Welcome to Talking Point with Stephen Taylor. It's good to have you along, and got a great guest today, somebody that I look up to in the industry and somebody that's been around longer than I have, Mr. Eddy Cassar. How are you, my friend?
I'm well, Stephen. I'm well. Thank you for having me. Thanks for having me. It was very kind.
Wow. So tell me, Eddy Cassar PR, you're a legend in Cape Town. I mean, everyone knows the name Eddy Cassar. Tell me about you, like your beginning days, how it all started.
How it all started, I was a journalist many years ago, and I remember sitting on the sports desk once, and I wasn't doing sports.
Oh, wow.
I was sitting on the sports desk once, and the editor coming in saying, cycle tour, who's doing cycle tour, who's doing cycle tour? And they didn't have a cycling reporter.
Really?
So result is that the guy who did hockey would do cycling. It was just a natural.
Sure.
And that's
interesting changeover from hockey to cycling. Hey?
It's stuck in my mind. And I told him, I'm leaving. I know how the system works. Let me do it.
Yeah.
And that's how I started.
And then you started your own PR company.
I started my own PR company. I started to do stuff for the cycle tour, and then other projects came by.
Wow. Yeah. So you grew up in Cape Town?
Born and bred in Cape Town. Born and bred in, my parents are Egyptian.
Oh, wow.
They came here in 51, and I arrived in 54. I was brought up in Pinelands, and then on the Atlantic seaboard.
Oh, wow. Yeah. The Pinelands totally different then to now, or what? Things have changed?
A bit different, totally different. Yeah, I think we left Pinelands in the 60s.
So you're half Egyptian, half South African?
So I'm South African.
All right.
I'm Cape Townian.
There we go.
Yeah, yeah.
So your parents still alive?
My mother is. My mother's alive still, yeah.
So did you ever go with her to Egypt?
She's never been back, strangely enough. Yeah, she arrived in 51, and she stayed, and she's immensely happy here.
And her cooking, does she cook traditional Egyptian?
All those continental foods. And I was brought up with French and Italian and Greek and Arabic. So our household was always very cosmopolitan.
So how does one go into starting their own PR company? That must be a mission on its own, because can you make a living from having your own PR company?
Well, I think you can make a living from starting anything that you're passionate about. Mm. I think that is the key. The key is that you have to be passionate about it, and you have to be receptive to the industry, in the sense that the industry, especially now, has changed a hell of a lot. Media has
fly by night, that you're not there for the money, because people will see right through that.
In 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So the result is that if you're passionate about what you're doing, and you build equity by one job after another, and you don't run away with the money, and the job is well done, and the client is happy with you, etc., and it will organically grow.
So was your first project the cycle tour?
The first project for me was, strangely enough, it's a long story made short. It was Addis Plastics. They're still around.
Oh, wow.
Addis.
Okay.
Is a friend of mine I used to swim with, and I used to tell him, I want to leave the newspapers and do this and whatever. So he says, but why don't you take my company?
Yeah.
You've got it for 6 months. If you're brilliant or you're terrible, after 6 months, I'm giving it back to my PR company.
Wow.
So use it if you want, and that's what I did.
Sure.
And then I got another client, and then the next thing, there was a company that was interested in opening up a TV channel in this, it was 1987 or 88, I can't remember.
Was TV around then?
The TV was around, and there was a new TV channel coming called Mnet.
Oh, wow, yes.
And they had bought a launching project, which was called Comic Relief, which was the Red Nose Days. And so who made the Red Noses? Addis Plastics.
Oh, wow.
And I put that together. Correct. And
what was Red Nose Day about?
About giving back. It was about the children, comic relief, laughing and whatever, with social welfare in child welfare in mind.
But it went from red noses to putting that thing on your car, remember?
It was called a gonk.
Yeah.
A gonk, and then they did things for buildings, and it just carried on and on and on and on. And it's still a very successful concept in England and around the world, but here it lasted 4 or 5 years and whatever, and then I don't know what happened to it.
Sure. So tell me about the Cricket World Cup 2003 opening ceremony. Yeah. Wow.
I think there was a Penny Jones is the lady's name. Yes. Penny Jones is a big event organizer for mass participation aerobic events.
Not in South Africa, around the world.
She did the Athens Olympics. She was all over.
Wow.
And she got the contract. She got the idea to present to Ali Bacher this opening ceremony at Newlands Cricket Ground. Ali Bacher, I take my hat off to him.
He was in charge of cricket then,
He was in charge of cricket then. He allowed us to use Newlands pitch, even to cover the cricket pitch itself, for a week.
Sure.
To have rehearsals on the field and use the pitch the next day for, I think it was South Africa was playing either the West Indians.
Yes, I think it was West Indies.
Or Kenya, one of the two. I stand to correction, but I think it was West Indies.
Yeah.
And we put off, and this contract was, number one, getting 1,800 Cape Townians to volunteer their time
Sure.
for the opening ceremony. I worked with choreographers that were just mind-blowing.
So it's not just PR, it's not just marketing the event.
So the result, you become part of the team,
Yeah.
and you're in charge of making Cape Town know about this and making South Africa know about this. It was a fascinating project.
I think we lost our first match, didn't we?
I can't remember. Can't remember.
We lost that one.
I can't. I think you're right, but it certainly was, and that was Mark Lottering's first huge gig,
yes.
because the whole thing was themed around a visitor coming to Cape Town.
Yeah.
So he was taken in a game drive bucky and literally round the country, and Mark was the guide to television. So and then obviously the visual thing, which was.
That's the first themed World Cup opening ceremony?
I stand to correction, but I think you're right, yeah. I have at home the original sketches of all the artists that were being used, and the zebra was this, and that was this, and all the puppets made. It was fascinating.
And Thabo Mbeki, then president, opened the ceremony.
Correct.
And you've said that you've met him many times. How is that?
Times you meet all these people and whatever. Yeah. So, and they're people, and the popular ones are the gracious ones.
That's right. Eh?
Yeah. The popular ones
the ones that are just up and coming, that are the divas, eh?
There's some of them that are divas and whatever, but you know who the nice ones are. The Arch is a gentleman.
Yes.
Thabo Mbeki was a gentleman. A lot of them were just wonderful people.
Who have you met along? Have you met any international people along the way?
Once I got a phone call pre-JMB Met.
Yeah.
Always get phone calls pre-JMB Met. But this one was from an agent saying that he wanted to come to the JMB Met. He's got a person out here and whatever. Would it be possible to get into the JMB marquee? Yeah. Everybody wanted to be JMB marquee. It was Eric Cantona.
Oh, wow. Did he come?
He came. There was another guy by the name of Norman Summers. Norman, I didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
Norman Summers or Santner or whatever, is Sting.
Oh, wow.
And he came.
What, really?
A couple of years ago.
Just a visit?
He was in Cape Town and heard that the Met was on or whatever. Yeah.
That's awesome, right? And Cantona, how is he?
He was fantastic. He was,
Kick you, eh?
and he correct. And he was a nutcase at that. On the field we knew him as a nutcase.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he was gracious.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Yeah. So now the whole Met is just changing completely. I mean,
JMB Met is changing.
Yeah.
JMB Met are going to greener pastures. I don't know what they're doing, and the Met is up for grabs. I think there's a company that's looking at coming on board.
You've been doing the PR for that for
23 years, I think. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. You see, when I started with the cycle tour, they had 8,000 cyclists. They now have 42.
Sure. And you're still involved with that?
Huh?
You're still involved with
The cycle tour, we do the expo.
Yeah.
And when I started with the JMB Mets, the corporate hospitality 23 years ago was that every person working on the JMB Met had to bring sandwiches.
Really?
That was the corporate hospitality. Look at it today.
Look at it today, yeah.
Today, you can't plan a wedding, a bar mitzvah, or whatever on Met Day because there's no cutlery, no chairs, no marquees.
Cape Town literally comes to a standstill on Met Day.
That's it.
And the whole of Cape Town is, how many people have,
At its peak, 50,000 Cape Townians, or people coming to Kenilworth.
Wow.
Yeah, that's huge. Eh? It's
what do you think has there been a decline in attendance? Or?
It's fair to say that there are few companies that have worked on events, the same event for such a long time.
Yeah.
And events have got life cycles.
Yes.
And the cycle tour, I remember not long ago, the cycle tour was struggling to get its 42,000 people.
Yes.
Look at it today. And the JMB Met was at 50,000 and it dropped, and then it's on a trajectory again on the way up. And so all these events have life cycles.
Yes.
And they go through, there's certain stimuli that slow them down or push them up or whatever. So it's interesting. It's interesting. The ones with stable management are the ones that succeed.
How does the management change?
As long as it's stable.
Yeah.
As long as it's stable.
Yeah.
Because you can see through flimsy stuff.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You're watching Talking Point with Stephen Taylor. Good to have you along. Hope that you are well. Make sure that you are getting involved with the show at Stephen Taylor SA, Facebook and Twitter. I'm in conversation with Eddy Cassar. Eddy, you well? Are you still enjoying yourself here?
Very much so. Yeah, I'm talking about projects I haven't talked about for a long time.
No, I know. And one of them that we are going to speak about a bit later on is, of course, the Funny Festival.
Yeah.
We'll speak about that. But tell me about somebody wanting to get into PR. You know, there's so many small PR companies around these days, and like wishy-washy, you know, fly-by-nights.
Yeah.
How do you get up there to be Eddy Cassar?
You know, that's how do you? How do you? You know, I think that passion is everything.
Yes.
I think that passion is everything. You can have all the education you want, and education is terribly important.
And loyalty and honesty.
You must have all those attributes. But education is one of them. If you haven't got passion, if you're not passionate for what you do. You know, I built my business walking news desks, and I still walk the news desks. I go to the newspapers 2 or 3 times a week, and I've got my ear to the ground. I know what's going on. I know who's looking for stories and this, that, whatever. I do the same with the radio stations. And I've just, it's the way that I'm passionate about. I used to get turned on by the smell of news ink.
Really?
I just loved news ink. The Argus building, newspaper house, used to have the printing presses there.
Oh, they don't have that anymore.
They're not there any longer. And in the days pre-1994, you could feel that the pulse of the country, of what was going on, was coming out of that building. You knew. You could feel young journalists' heart beating because they had just been shot at by police or whatever at a protest. It was serious stuff. And you knew that you were in a serious business. And I think that stood me in good stead, that what I was doing with promoting the cycle tour, the JMB Met or the Funny Festival or whatever, was peripheral nonsense. This was news. And I found a very even balance of trying to get my stuff into newspapers. And newspapers
Because you were there.
Yeah, correct. You were there.
So you had the link up, you had the contacts.
Besides all that, because anybody can get that,
Yes.
you have to have a passion for what you're doing.
Yes.
It's a surgeon, a train driver, the garbage collecting guy, the postman, or the PR guy. You have to be passionate about what you do. And then I'm sure that the rest follows.
Is it important to study? What did you study? Journalism?
No, I didn't. I studied at UCT. I did a Bachelor of Social Science. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I started a gap appeared for me to start writing, and I was never a fantastic journalist or whatever, but I could tell you what was happening on the street and this, that, whatever.
So you wrote columns and stuff?
I wrote columns, and what I did mostly was water sports.
Oh, wow.
It was my passion. I'm a swimmer, and still a swimmer, and whatever. And that's it. I think passion is the key, and obviously hard work.
So you swim? What in the ocean or in the?
I swim. I've done ocean, open water swimming a lot of my life, but I still swim in the pavilion throughout the year.
Wow.
I do my lengths up and down, up and down. It's a wonderful source of sensory depriving yourself of the senses, so you can think clearly.
So tell me about the Funny Fest. That's been going now for how many years?
That I started in 1997 at the Smirnoff Comedy Festival. That was it called.
Yes.
I had this idea. I used to do the Smirnoff Jazz in Grahamstown. I used to go up there, and in my mind's eye, I could see comedy. And I've been going to Grahamstown since '89. And I used to tell the Smirnoff brand manager, let's get into comedy, let's get into comedy, And the only guys at Grahamstown, comedians, were Peter Dirk and David Crime and Tully Peterson with District 6. Those were the only funny things there. And both of them had political messages.
Yes.
That was, I think, 1994, 93, 94, that I remember that. 95, there were 22 stand-ups.
Wow.
Because all of a sudden the country could speak. Wow. There was no freedom of speech beforehand.
Yeah.
And everything that anybody had a platform was talking political stuff. And the Kurt Schoenraads and the Stuart Taylors and everybody came about, etc., and comedy exploded. And Smirnoff saw this, and they gave me money to put on the Smirnoff Comedy Festival, which I did in 1997.
Sure.
They moved to Greener Pastures in 2004.
But they're still involved with comedy.
Smirnoff?
Yeah.
Maybe, but not on a major scale.
Yeah.
And then I took it upon, at 2004 when they left, in 2005, I said, the comedy in this country has got to a certain point. I believe that we can stay in theatres and grow this if we take away the profanities and make the audience net larger. And
it's like a show.
It's exactly that.
Yeah.
And slowly but surely you learn, and you go overseas to the festivals, to the comedy festivals abroad.
Have you been?
Many times. And you see what's going on, and you bring back, and you it's all about passion.
Yes.
If you're passionate about fishing, you'll catch fish. If you're passionate about comedy, you'll do well in the but it's about passionate and about not running off with the money or not paying people and all that. It's business principles and passion.
So tell me about, the Royal Variety Show in England.
I know it well.
How can we not do something like that here? Hey? I think that would do, mixing comedy with music, with everything.
Fantastically.
Has anything like that ever been done?
I don't think on that scale.
Yeah.
Listen, you get onto the Royal Variety.
Yeah.
The Royal Variety is actually the royal family's gift to the industry. I think the tickets cost £170. And every single cent goes to
the trust or
the Actors Trust.
Yeah.
Performers Trust.
And there's also Night at the Palladium. Have you watched that?
Same type of thing or whatever. Yeah. So listen, you make it as a performer. Some of my performers who I've imported over the years have been on the Royal Variety, and believe me, your career just takes off.
That's where the Queen or the Prince Charles and all those people go.
Families there and whatever. And it used to be only variety, but now it's music and this and that, whatever, and drama and theatre, and which is great.
How is comedy in Cape Town, South Africa? How are people? Are they still going out to watch shows? Are they still going out to theatre?
They certainly go into comedy.
Okay.
Kurt Schoenraads has done a fantastic thing with the Cape Town Comedy Club. It's I think there are only 3 in the country where they're dedicated comedy venues throughout the year.
What's the other one? Joe Parker?
It's Joe Parker's, and the Goliath brothers have opened something in Johannesburg as well. So result is that it's growing. I think their last count, there are just over 400 professional comedians that make their living off comedy.
Is that a lot?
It's certainly come from a base of nothing in the last 25 years. So it is a lot, and this country needs to laugh, and we all need to laugh. At these times we need to laugh, and as we progress, we're becoming more sophisticated. Our comics are of a superbly high level.
Oh, no, they are.
Yeah, and look at Kurt, look at Stuart, look at John Flismus, look at Alan, look at Mark Lottering, Alan Committee. Look at the guys coming up. It really is a craft, and these people are masters at their craft. And then you get a guy like Trevor Noah, who's like shown the rest of the world, just hold it. There's something that's happening in Southern Africa.
Do you know him?
He's been on the show many times. Yes, and as a boy.
But now you can't get him back nice money.
We had him 2 years ago. 2 years ago the show was running, Funny Festival was running, and Trevor has a home in Cape Town.
Okay.
And when he's in Cape Town, he plays football with the homeless.
Oh, wow.
In the gardens. Still. And he tore his ligaments.
Oh, wow.
And couldn't go to New York. This was 2 years ago. Had an operation, and his surgeon says there's no traveling for 2 weeks.
Sure.
You have to rest in the whole business. I got a phone call, said your show's on, I'm here, I can't move. will you put me on? I said, of course you can put you on. And 2 years ago, he was absolutely magical, gracious with unknown upcoming comics, gracious with the Mark Lotterings and the other people and he was just magnificent.
We should get him back, eh?
We should get him back. We should get him back. I don't think we'll be able to afford him, but we should get him back. Yeah. But good luck to him.
Yeah, he's done well. He's put South Africa on the map, and I like that he incorporates different things about South Africa on his show.
Yeah, and we're all very critical. We too critical in this country.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we are. This man has done superbly well. He hasn't forgotten his roots, where he comes from, etc., etc. So hats off to Trevor. You could see from an early age. You could see I used him on campuses as a comic numerous times, and he was then a midnight DJ on YFM.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he would come down early in the morning and work the day with me on campuses around Cape Town, and go back to Joburg to do his show and this, that, whatever. You could see then that there was something special.
And his material, it changes all the time.
But well, these people live with the newspaper, the radio, and all the news channels, you know, and they know what's going on. They see the funny side of life, and they know how to present it.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
it. Yeah.
It's Talking Point with Stephen Taylor. We're in conversation with Eddy Cassar. Eddy, tell me about the Funny Fest. Of course, it is on the go at the moment in Cape Town, at the Baxter.
We're at the Baxter.
Tell me about what we can expect for this year.
This year, you can expect variety meeting stand-up, or stand-up meeting variety. I believe that to have a fresh show, you cannot laugh for more than 90 minutes.
No.
People get very tired. And people get tired. people get tired of and listening to stand up. And then at the end you can have a huge comic like Mark Lottering, and the audience is tired. They don't receive him well. So I learned to amalgamate different acts.
Yes.
And put them into the show and say, okay.
Some not really funny, but entertaining.
Entertaining with an element of comedy and whatever. I've got to go.
You're not going to jump out your stomach.
But you're going to go home and say, wow, what was that?
Yeah.
I've got a guy coming from Venice.
Oh, wow.
His name is Ennio Marchetto.
He hasn't been before.
He's been to South Africa before many years ago. He's a gentleman in his 50s, and he is the world's only human cartoon. He's a specialist in origami, with the molding of paper, and he's bringing an 18 minutes backing track of all the hits, all the big artists, and he becomes that artist with paper.
That's awesome.
No, it's beyond awesome.
So you go and source the people.
And source them and find them or whatever. I'll give you an example. You know, he's got I Wanna Be Loved by You, Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
And the paper, her hair, her blonde hair, is beautifully sculpted with paper. And the next song is Dolly Parton working 9 to 5, and this unclips and becomes the boobs.
That's awesome, eh?
That's just a fraction.
Anyone that was there last year that's going to be back? What about the guy in the ball that didn't?
It was interesting,
funny.
different. He's not back, no. So he's the one guy. I've got a guy who's been here before numerous times. He's a master classical pianist.
Oh, yes.
His name is Kev Orkian.
Kev's awesome, eh?
He's awesome. He's coming back, and he's coming back with his new show. I was negotiating with a troupe, a circus troupe in Paris that do a very famous towel dance.
Oh, wow.
They're two naked boys that interchange beach towels.
We can't see anything, right?
But you're not supposed to see anything, okay? If they don't drop them. And I was, it's the Paris team is called Les Beaux-Frères, the Beautiful Brothers.
Oh, wow.
You can see them on YouTube and the whole business. I've seen them live, superb act, and I just couldn't nail them down. And no, but those two are a member of a circus group of 5. You have to bring all 5, and it's summer here. We're very busy with all the fest. I was getting nowhere. I walked into Cork Bay Theatre during the summer season to see a cabaret show called Bonsoir, Good Evening.
Oh, yeah?
And there in what's called is this bloody towel dance. These two boys who are actually brothers, so they're on the show.
That's awesome.
And it is beautiful.
That's
It is really beautiful. It's hosted by Alan Committee. It's closed by Mark Lottering. We've got I found not Tumi's not on this year. We found a new guy from Greyton.
All right.
His name is Justin Ray Stoffels.
Okay.
I get he sends me a video link. I look at it. It's poorly shot. The audio is terrible, but the crowd response is very interesting. So I asked Kurt, do you know this guy? He says, yeah, I know him, or whatever. He's a novice.
Yeah.
I said, can you put him on for me? So I said, with grace and pleasure. He did. I said, this is very interesting. He is killing it every night.
So you give up on coming people a chance as well. I like that. That's awesome.
Wonderful.
So it's running up until?
7th of August. We've just completed our second show. We've got 27 still to do. Booking is through CompuTicket is very heavy, thank God. But you need to vickle and get there. And our show has no profanities. It's a
Family show?
family show. It is the best of the best. You'll walk out of there and saying, that was fun.
Awesome. Eddy, thank you for your time, man. Listen, we can sit here all day chatting about you and your career, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you so
go
much,
well.
man.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much for taking the time out. Thank you to Eddy Cassar for his time. Of course, go and check out the Funny Fest at the Baxter Theatre, running up until the 7th of August. Go and get your tickets at CompuTicket and support some great entertaining comedy. You'll laugh. You'll come out feeling a whole lot better, I promise. Get in touch with the show at Stephen Taylor SA on Facebook and Twitter, and of course facebook.com/Talking Point. That is where you can find me. Otherwise, I'll catch you back next time, same time, same place. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.